Hey Rob,
Hey, Dan, how are you?
good thanks. How you doing?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. We're with Dan Smith of Bastille, and I guess we'll start with a new song that we all just got dropped on us earlier. Well, yesterday, I believe, is when I finally got a chance to hear it. It's called Quarter Past Midnight. Talk a little bit about that song and what inspired it.
So it's the opening track from our new album, and it's about that point in the evening where you sort of just want to keep things going. It's kind of about escapism and the sort of hunt for euphoria and wanting to sort of avoid reality and lose yourself in the night a little bit. And I don't know, I just wanted to capture that feeling of excitement.
Is that
and the sort of messiness around what can happen on a night out and all that kind of stuff. It's like I've been referring to our new album as a kind of apocalyptic party record, and I wanted to get that sort of trashy, messy excitement, and just try and capture that as best we could. So it's sort of kind of euphoric, but at the same time, it's racked with self-doubt and the usual Bastille woes.
So the album, is it finished now?
Yeah, it's finished. We're just finishing up the mixing at the moment.
All right, all right. What is this time period like for you when you've got basically the album finished, but the world hasn't heard it yet? Are you excited about that, or is it more nerve-wracking?
Yeah, it's a really interesting period, and where you sort of made this thing and it's existing, and it's sort of almost like your secret, like no one's heard it yet. It's quite fun. I like it. I love, obviously, making music, and I also love all the things that come with an album, like being able to make artwork and videos and all the other sort of creative elements that you can do. So this, for me, is one of my favourite bits of the whole experience, because I love being in the studio, I love writing, and I love producing, but it's also satisfying to have finished something and watch it kind of become a reality. So yeah, it's quite nice, and it's also really nice to sort of have a single out and kick things off and get it all going. Whilst we're sort of finishing the end of all the other stuff. But the record was finished about a month or so ago, and then we went on tour with an orchestra and a gospel choir, and that was quite nice, getting to sort of put the record to bed and then go away and not play any of those songs, just go and redo all our old songs orchestrally.
Right, an orchestra and a gospel choir, that's got to be quite a show.
It was pretty nuts.
Yeah.
It felt a bit bonkers and just and really special, to be honest, like getting to play with so many incredibly talented musicians and just completely flip all of our songs on their heads. And we started the show with Pompeii a cappella, and I think that very much set the tone of like what the night was going to be like. And yeah, it was a really beautiful show. I was really, really excited to be part of it. And yeah.
How have you noticed that sort of your writing style has changed over the years? I mean, you're now on, I guess this is going to be your third record that's coming out. How have things changed for you as a writer?
Good question. I don't know, really. I think I still sort of write in the same way. I'm quite self-critical. I think I'm quite concise as a writer as well. I think lyrically, I've tried to be a bit more sort of real and honest with this record. It's a lot more intimate and and sort of nihilistic. And I think on our last record, I was kind of, I historically have kind of always used pop culture and mythology and history to sort of try and tell stories, and I think I wanted this to be more grounded in my life and in reality. So yeah, I guess in that way. But I think on this record, wanted to sort of mess around with structures a little bit more, and yeah, just sort of see what happened.
When I listen to your music, I don't, I'm not saying they're not there, but I don't hear the influences come through. I don't listen to a Bastille song and go, oh, that sounds like this, or that sounds like that. Who would you cite as your influences as a songwriter?
That's a big question. I don't know. I mean, I think maybe the reason that you don't hear influences is because we're not really trying to sound like anyone. I guess I love, I love everything from like the Beatles to Anthony and the Johnsons to Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young, through to like Bowie and like loads of sort of indie rock and a lot of hip hop and R&B and stuff as well. But I think I just like classic songs. I always want our songs to feel like you could strip everything away and it would work at just a piano, and hopefully they do. But yeah, I want them to be kind of transportative. I want you to feel like you're watching a movie when you listen to our songs. I love film and cinema and film soundtracks and scores. So there's always been quite a lot of big backing vocals and strings and big drums mixed with, really intimate moments as well. And I think, I think also my voice is probably annoying to a lot of people, but it's quite unique. And so I think, anything we do, I think, even if I think particularly our last record, we tried to do a lot of very different sounding stuff. Like we had a kind of harder rock riffs, and we did, basically like hip hop kind of production and anything and everything in between. But as soon as you stick my annoying honking vocal on it, it just very much sounds like Bastille.
Yeah, you do. You guys do have a sound. I don't know, and I'm not going to say your voice is annoying, but I don't know that your vocals, let's call them distinctive, and I think that you do know it's a Bastille song when you hear it. I was just, sort of curious where those influences came from. You mentioned that you're a big fan of film, and I noticed that you guys released very early on an EP called Laura Palmer. I can only assume that means that you're a fan of Twin Peaks and possibly David Lynch.
I'm a huge David Lynch and Twin Peaks fan. Yeah, I discovered Twin Peaks when I was kind of at school, and it was way before my time. But I was able to find it on DVD and watch it back then, and it just blew my mind. I love the world that David Lynch manages to create in all of his TV shows and his films. It's bizarre and it's otherworldly, and it's fantastic. And he, as a sort of creative force, he's like a painter and a director and a writer and an actor, and I think he's a real sort of bizarre, dark, weird Renaissance man. Like, it's awesome. He makes music as well. We did a remix of one of his songs a few years ago, and that, which was terrifying. But we took his vocal and basically imagined that he was in orbit floating through space, like 2001: A Space Odyssey. So it was this big like choral arrangement with theremin, and David Lynch's vocal just popped out in the middle, and I did loads of backing vocals around him. So I basically forced him into doing a duet with me. But he loved the remix, and he actually invited me to come around his house and hang out. So I went and had some coffee with David Lynch, which was pretty surreal. Got to be like up there with one of the maddest moments of my life, I guess. If my teenage self could have even like comprehended that would be a real situation, I think my little mind would have probably blown entirely. But yeah, man. So as you said, big David Lynch fan.
Is his house as weird as I think it is?
It was pretty like. Have you seen Lost Highway?
Yes.
It was kind of that side of like the sort of. It looked like a house out of Lost Highway. It's kind of in the hills. It was pretty cool, and the bit that we went to, he had this huge screening room come recording studio, and he was in the middle of finishing a show of painting, so he sort of walked out covered head to toe in overalls and paint, and was like, "Oh, hi Dan, how you doing?" And as he said, "Hi Dan," I was like, "This is not real. This is not real life. This is not real life." So
yeah. And do you understand his movies? Because I don't understand most of what I'm watching when I'm watching David Lynch.
Well, I quite like that about it. I think I think there's like, some of them have a narrative thread, some of them are totally surreal, but I think it's very much about what you bring to it and your interpretation. And a lot of our music videos are quite weird, and we a bit like with his stuff, we sort of very much want people to bring their own ideas to it and project whatever they sort of are thinking onto it. But yeah, I guess I've got my theories about David Lynch. But I loved that when I saw Mulholland Drive. I was like, what did I just watch? I've got no idea what just happened. But I loved it. It made me think. Like, it really stuck with me, and it made me want to go away and speak to people about it and read about it on the internet. And I just quite like that. I mean, it's better than some sort of like. I mean, it's different, but it's a lot of films, they're enjoyable for their like hour and a half, and then you leave it and you barely think about it again. And I like the idea of watching and trying to make stuff that sort of sticks with you a bit more.
Right, sure. You took a big risk, I think, Dan. On the website, if you go there, there's a phone number listed, and apparently if fans call that, they can ask you questions. How's that going?
It's been really fun.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Has it no weirdos have called you yet?
Not as of yet. I mean, I'm not sure who's screening the calls, but I spoke to a whole bunch of people all over the world in the last couple of days, and will continue to do so. And it's been really cool. Just like, I think, I make songs with my friends, and we're lucky enough to release them and get to play them around the world. But I guess I kind of shut off a little bit from the reality of the fact that all these people who I don't know, like our music, and it's part of a little tiny part of their lives. And it's just this whole thing has been quite quite cool and quite humbling to sort of chat to people in all these different states around the US and Australia and England and all over the world, and just chat for a bit and ask them about what they're up to. It's been fun.
All right. Well, I'm glad to hear that, because I really thought you'd get a bunch of weirdos calling you.
Not yet. I will. If there are, I'll let you know.
All right, great. That's Dan from Bastille, and I know you've got to run. You've got a busy schedule today. The new single is out now. It's called Quarter Past Midnight, and Dan, we can't wait to hear the rest of the new album when it's ready to go.
Oh, thanks so much, man. Good to chat. Thank you for having me.
All right, have a good one.
Cheers. Take care.